Hi Phil, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing a bit rushed off feet, but yeah, doing good.
Whereabouts are you today?
I'm at the Lensbury, so we've got a level 7 masters program sort of being run, and we're covering ethics and risk
Wow.
on this one. So yeah, really great cohort, and so they're nearing the end of their journey. So yeah, a couple of them joined GST last week, so they've been talking about GST as well. So yeah, lots going on.
Yeah, sounds like you're busy. But
I
yeah,
am.
this week you mentioned GST
Yeah,
is less than a week since we were at the London Stock Exchange,
yeah.
talking about cracking the code all around key account management. But just wanted to get from your point, you were obviously the keynote, or the not the keynote, the
Facilitator.
facilitator of the day. Um,
Yeah, I
was
had a,
hoping to get from you, for those
yeah.
especially that didn't attend, if you could let me know what is GST and yeah, what's it all about? What was last week's event all about?
So, Global Sales Transformation has been the title of this event. It's been the 17th year now that we've run this event at the London Stock Exchange. And we say each time we run it, it gets better. But I think last week was extraordinary at so many different levels. The theme of the event was cracking the code of key account management, and uh, and essentially what we do at these events is we invite practitioners to share stories about what they do and the kind of things that they are practicing or doing with their key accounts, and extrapolating from that sort of key learnings. And then we bring in these rather eclectic speakers as well, just to create some diversity to the content.
Yeah,
But essentially, it's our flagship event. We are hugely committed to it. It's run at the London Stock Exchange because it's the center of commerce, it's the center of trading. It links what we do in the sales profession to economic growth. So, for us, it's part of the Consalia culture. Is the London Stock Exchange event we do every year. So yeah, it was super exciting to be at last week.
there really was a buzz, and over the years, as you said, we've seen it grow. And yeah, last week I think we're still feeling quite energized from it. But
Yeah.
I'm joined as well by Eddie. Eddie, you were instrumental at getting GST up and running this year. Why don't you give a bit of an introduction and yeah, what your thoughts were?
Yeah, sure. So heading up marketing and getting to grips with an event is always going to be a challenging kind of task. But I thought the event itself was great. I think, especially like Phil said, every year GST gets better and better, and I think this year really stood out to me. Just the fact that the whole kind of networking area was packed. Loads of people were talking with each other. People within the auditorium were super engaged. I thought it was a great event. So yeah, looking forward to the next one now.
Yeah. And just to add, I think the caliber of people who were just sat in the audience as well was fantastic, and over half the audience had never been to a GST before, and I guess that just shows perhaps the word is slowly getting out as well. Every year we try and say that the word is reaching to a wider audience, and I felt that this year.
Hmm.
But Phil, I mean, part of what makes GST so special is the speakers, right?
Yeah,
Is what they talk about. And
I agree. Yeah,
why don't you give us a bit of a rundown as to who we had last week,
of
and
course. Yeah,
perhaps, what they were talking.
yeah. So on the topic of key account management, we have the privilege of working with some absolutely sort of first class organizations, and within those, some people who've done amazing work. We have master's students who study the topic of key account management, for example. And so, we just had the most brilliant speakers. So we had David Bear from Mott MacDonald kind of kick-started the whole event off. And we knew a bit about David's story because of some of the work we've been doing with Mott's on their key account program. So we knew that David would be great in the telling of his account relationship at Heathrow, and has that has evolved over time. But what I loved about what David shared was the fact that the reason for the success that they had in Heathrow was nothing to do with their core product and services, which is civil engineering projects and so on. It's everything to do with something that we call the intangible assets of the business. And he demonstrated, I think, a lot of, creative thinking in the way that he talked about how they strategized around the account, and how they were able, after the pandemic, to take advantage of the goodwill that had been created and really benefited in some of the major projects coming at Heathrow without significant competition because of the goodwill that they'd built up. So for me, he's a great exemplar of the values that we talk about all the time of client centricity, authenticity, proactive creativity and tactful audacity. You saw all of those reflected in his talk. Then we had Professor Liz Stokoe from the London School of Economics, and an academic, a professor, spends all of her life just studying the importance of singular words, and I've always been attracted to Liz's work because I don't know of anyone else in the world who's actually studied conversation analytics as she's done. And with the advent of AI and technology and sentiment analysis of conversations, we're hearing that with organizations like Gong that are being prevalent. I think her world is becoming more important for us. And it was great to go from the sort of big, heady sort of Heathrow, big business type deal down to how do you stop someone from jumping off a bridge, or how do you stop someone in a key negotiation? And she's just a brilliant speaker. And of course, she's done work in sales with some of our clients in the past as well. And she was able to talk about the work that she'd done with Toshiba Tech some years ago now. And then we had we call him our own Luke Skinner from SAP, talking about the outputs of his thesis around the mindsets you need to have as a global account director, and how he's applying that to the strategic accounts at SAP. And I remember Luke, he was a 26-year-old when he joined that program, looking after some of their biggest accounts. And it's just amazing to see how individuals have grown over time, partly helped through the development we provided, but, of course, a lot based on their personal initiative. So we had these fabulous speakers that kickstarted, and then we had this great panel discussion after the break, where we had Brigitte Pingle, one of the best strategic deal makers I've ever met in my illustrious career in sales now, and David Mines, who gave a different perspective on key account management from Bunzl, or the division of Bunzl that he's working in. And we had someone from procurement involved as well in the panel discussions, the only procurement guy in the room actually sitting there. And it was just great. But the panel discussion, I think, worked really well because we had such great caliber audience. We had managing directors in the audience, sales directors. We had, level 6 graduates in there. It was lovely to see them as well. So there was, a real buzz I felt around the panel discussion that we had. And then, of course, Ryan and IntraHive. I mean, thanks to IntraHive for sponsoring the event. Ryan, I think, is written the definitive book on relationship mapping. I've never seen anything as detailed as what he's done. And we often talk about this last slot as being the graveyard slot, but actually he nailed it, right at the very end. It was just very high energy. And we had sorry, I'm rambling on a bit, but the energy that was created in the room was just extraordinary.
It really was. And
Yeah,
yeah, there are many highlights from each of these speakers that you
yeah,
just mentioned. But
yeah.
Eddie, maybe you could share what were some of your highlights from the speakers?
I mean, I think just referring back to what Phil was saying around how we bring eclectic speakers, the fact that we brought Professor Liz Stoko to the fold and speaking about such an interesting topic that most salespeople don't ever really consider. But then when you really think about the minute details in conversations and how they make the difference, it's so interesting. And I think that's a lot of the feedback that we received from the event was around how great that particular talk was. I think just in general, I think what we tend to do with GST is we tend to encourage our audience to think bigger and think from different perspectives. And I think that that's probably a product of how we run our masters programs and whatnot. And I think just that theme of encouraging salespeople to think outside of the box is such a great thing to do. I think it's so easy to get um it's so easy to focus on what's in front of you, but then when you really expand your mind, and how we've done that with some of these talks and the speakers, I think we've delivered a lot of value, which is always great, always great.
Yeah. I mean, there was so much on every speaker that I could take away. I think, to echo what you've just said, Liz's keynote was fascinating, and when you apply it, hers was all around crisis negotiation, and when you apply some of her insights to how we may approach sales when we're at the negotiation phase, certainly leaves food for thought. And as you said, stretches your thinking, makes you
Hmm.
reflect on the specific language that you use. um, and for me, again, I mean, all of them that I had key takeaways from, but Luke Skinner's life as a GAD at SAP, wow, he really is, know, a major facilitator in order to get deals done. But one of the things that he mentioned about, um, that I thought was interesting and hadn't heard anyone speak about this before, was the political entrepreneur, how important it is. And I think that for me is recognizing the importance of internal stakeholder management. And
Yeah.
that's something that I think may not get the attention it deserves, but is
Mm.
really crucially important in order to effectively operate. Because
Yeah.
you need to get people on your side and work with you, especially as you're trying to close these mega deals. Um, I mean, I'm not going to pull out the key personal takeaways from each one because we'll be here all day. But Phil, those were mine. You might have some further kind of
I
highlight
think I've
you
shared
wanted to
some of the
mention.
highlights when I talked through the speakers, but of course, I think we were also really excited about bringing Phoebe into this world. That was another highlight, and I never thought we'd get a round of applause. Sort of introducing. It really took me by surprise. It was just really nice, and it kind of showed
Take a step back. What is Phoebe?
oh, Phoebe. Yeah, of course, Phoebe is everyone listening to this got to get to know Phoebe, by the way. Phoebe is the account planning toolkit that we've been very excited to launch as an app. We've seen with a lot of our clients, they use different systems, whether it's Excel or whether they use PowerPoint. Rarely, and it's cumbersome, and it's regarded by salespeople as a kind of chore, when it shouldn't be. It should be a collaborative tool. And so we've been working very hard with Royal Caribbean to test in an application form, the account planning toolkit that was an Excel-based model that we've been running for companies like Royal Mail and HP and other organizations over the years. But this is different. This is an app. This is technology driven, and it's kind of really exciting to kind of take Consalia into a new sector of the market in a way, in the tech sector,
Yeah.
and beginning to sort of look at the challenges that we're going to be facing and the opportunities, of course, which coming through thick and fast at the moment.
Mm.
To actually help companies become better at the way they manage their key accounts.
Yeah.
Like we said at the event, 80% of our revenue often comes from 20% of the account base.
Yeah.
And so how we manage them. And for me, it's, we've been talking about this for years, the recognizing the value of key accounts as an asset in the balance sheet, and, developing a set of sophisticated tools now that can start to manage those relationships. I'm terribly excited about, and that's what Phoebe is. Yeah,
It is a, a big development in the world of
it
Consalia.
is.
I very much enjoyed when you challenged the audience with the question, what's the first, what did you say? When I say that, when I announce Phoebe, what's the first thing that you think about? And the audience responded, Phoebe from Friends.
Yeah. And
But actually, Emily, why have we called our app Phoebe?
I think that
Did
that's part
ask
of the
Eddie,
reason.
by the way, this question, Phil.
Oh, okay, okay, Eddie, come
Eddie,
on.
Well, Phil,
your head of
you
No,
marketing.
no, no, Eddie, you go through it, because I think it was a very interesting journey we took.
No, of course, yeah, and I feel I'm sure you'll add on to it, but I think when we were initially thinking about the name Phoebe, it was a bit of a shock because obviously Phil came to us and said, "I want to call it Phoebe," and we just thought, "Hang on a minute, that's the person from Friends. Why would we call it?" And that. But of course, when you look deeper into the meaning behind Phoebe as a name, it often refers to the Greek goddess of wisdom and prophecy, which is very, in line with how we think key account managers should really act with their key accounts. So that's the story behind Phoebe as a name. Although it would be great to obviously inject some friends branding into the marketing campaigns going forward. But yeah, that was right, Phil. Right, we kind of
That's
went
right.
through a few other names which
Yeah, we did.
didn't
Yeah,
really hit the bill, but I think from a human perspective, we really wanted to give it that human element, right? In this kind of world that we're living in with AI all around us, it was I think it was just a great decision to call it by a human's name.
Yeah.
I think the link with Friends, I think, is also helpful because people often smile when they think of Phoebe, don't they?
Yeah,
They
very true.
wow, it's and so this is how we want people to feel and experience, the product itself.
Yeah.
So whether it's Greek mythology or whether it's Friends, the Friends link, I think both of those factors sort of play a role into why we've come up with the name Phoebe. So, and it's human. I think in this world of AI, it's nice to remember that at the end of the day, it's humans interacting with humans that make so much innovation happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't the only thing that we sort of announced over the course of this last year. We've really been developing our online delivery capability as well.
Yeah,
And we've trialed many different modules across lots of different clients. And it was at GST where probably for the first time we were able to kind of speak about online, about its development, about what's coming down the pipe. And subsequently we've had an awful lot of people who want to trial the product. So very exciting, very keen to get the feedback, and hopefully, Consalia is developing new ways in how we can engage our clients in a better way. So
yeah.
yeah, lots of exciting announcements from the Consalia point of view. So it wasn't just the keynote presenters; it was also some announcements from us as well. So that's always nice to have. But when you announced Phoebe and we got our round of applause, that wasn't our only round of applause, because we also, this time round, decided, instead of giving people swag at the end of the day, we thought we would use that budget in order to raise money for charity. And perhaps, Phil, you might want to expand on why those charities and also how much money did we raise in the end?
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Was it Luke who came up with the idea?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, we have a lot to thank Luke for, because he's sort of keeps us reminded of the pressures, that we're all under, and I kind of, as soon as Luke suggested that we should perhaps think of, because we're brainstorming, what to do. There was unanimous support. That's what we've got to do, inside the company. And then it was a question of really trying to work out which charities to support. We talked about the challenges in Ukraine, what's going on there. We talked about challenges in the Middle East, and how we can support the Middle East. And we thought, well, we can't get too specific, maybe on geographic regions, but maybe we can make some contributions to charities that support people who desperately need the money in those. So we came up with three charities: Mind, which is the mental health charity, and we have Crisis, and we had the British Red Cross. And what I found really interesting was the charity, because everyone was given a token when they came in, and they could opt for which box they dropped the token in. But the one that got the most support from the group was Mind, which is mental health. So I think Luke would have been delighted with that, because he's done so much work, on mental health and so on. So yeah, so we raised £550 for Mind, £270 for Crisis, and £160 for the British Red Cross. So
Yeah.
all worthy causes. So we're delighted that we're going to make this contribution. But you're right, Will. It was great that people gave a round of applause when we explained to them what was this funny token that they were given, when they came in. And I think it's something that we'll probably do on
I think
future
so.
GST
Yeah,
events as well. Yeah.
I think so. And finally, we're already in planning stages for next year's GST, which is a huge, momentous one, as it'll be the 20th GST that we would run.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. More to come on this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm expecting another packed out event, Eddie.
On
No
it.
pressure.
No pressure.
All I can say is everyone here on the workshop has been taught, those that came, and everyone that, there's FOMO, there's a lot
Oh,
of
really?
FOMO.
Ah,
Okay.
So I
that's
think
what I wanted to create.
already we've got people saying, I'm just going to make it next year. But yeah, so I think the word is out. I think,
The
well,
word's out, but Phil, I mean, I think you might be even more under the spotlight
I
here
will. Yes.
next year,
No,
because we're gonna look back at your research.
we are. We're going to, one of the things that we're setting up, and it'd be great for listeners who are interested in this to get in contact with me, is that, a lot of what has happened with Consalia has been because of the doctorate that I did, in 2004 to 2009.
Quickly,
And
just give us the title of the doctorate that you did. Maybe not the full title,
I
but
was
the
going to say the
easy
full title.
I did write the full title down just this morning, actually, but I keep on forgetting it because it's so damn long. It's something like, how can a client values-based mindset help in the co-creation of a new sales model, something along those lines. But you could shorten it to, how do customers want to be sold to, which is where we're going. But what that was 20 years, preaching 20 years ago now, that I started that research and then tested it within the construct of the doctorate. But I'm, that there's been massive changes in how business operates, and there's been the pandemic as well that's had certain impact on our ability to I think, connect with people, and so I'm really interested to go back to that research data, go back to the kind of questions that was asked in that research, and to recalibrate, to say, has the needle moved in any way from those days? Are there because we defined that, the 4 differentiating values, which I won't go into now, that successful teams demonstrate. I mean, we knew then that less than 10% of salespeople, demonstrated those values according to customers. So essentially, it's going back to that sort of premise of, or, the outputs, asking the same questions, doing the thematic analysis across those by interviewing. We want to interview a minimum of 100 customers. It's going to be a lot easier now because we've got technology that can help us. And we're working with some of our international partners. So the Sales Research Institute in South Korea, that's assuming they're not still under martial law, as we heard this morning. But we've got our team out there who's interested in running the APJ assessment. Of course, we've got Europe, and we've got our partners, the Summit Group in America. And so this will be an international, global, really important kind of research, which will help sort of see how the needle has moved since the first research was conducted. And I can safely say that this is the only research program that I've seen at academic levels that has studied values it's the only study that's done. So it's hugely important if we believe that values are important in how we sell. So yeah, next year's GST will be sharing those kind of results, and seeing has the needle changed in any way. We may be able to get some of the customers to come and talk at next year's GST event as well. So yeah, really looking forward to it. So yeah, we've got a pretty good idea about what we're going to do next year, but the details yet to be worked out. But
it's only
yeah,
been a week.
it's only been a week. Yeah,
So
yeah. But we
exciting.
had started thinking about this a few months ago, I think. So yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Will. Yeah.
And
Thanks,
cheers,
guys.
Eddie.
Yeah. Cheers.